We all see the headlines about the affordable housing crisis, and it feels like a massive, unsolvable problem. But what if the solution wasn't some huge new government program? What if it was about fixing the financial plumbing that's been broken for decades? Well, today we're going to dig into a really powerful blueprint that does exactly that, unlocking private capital to help communities build.
So let's just start with the biggest question right out of the gate. Why is it still so incredibly hard to build affordable housing? I mean, we've been talking about this for years. It's not for a lack of trying. The problem, it turns out, is baked right into the system we use to finance these projects. And to fix it, we have to understand how that system is almost designed to be inefficient. And the scale of this thing is just, wow. We're talking about millions of American families spending more than 30% of their income on housing. And for many, it's way worse. Over half their income just to keep a roof over their heads. This isn't some fringe issue. It's a huge crisis impacting every corner of the country.
Okay, so to really get why we're so stuck, we need to look at the main tool the federal government has been using for more than 30 years. It was created to solve this exact problem, but, as we're about to see, it has some pretty serious flaws.
That tool is called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, or LIHT for short. You'll hear that a lot. Since 1986, this has been the main game in town. The idea sounds pretty simple, right? The government gives developers tax credits. The developers then sell those credits to investors, like big banks, and that's how they raise the cash, the equity, they need to actually start building.
But here's where it gets messy. In practice, this system is like a giant, complicated Rube Goldberg machine. The financing is so complex that you need armies of lawyers and consultants, which drives up the cost. Plus, there's only a limited supply of these tax credits every year. And the whole thing depends on whether investors even feel like buying them. The result? It's slow, it's expensive, and it's just not producing nearly enough housing.
But here's the cool part. While the federal system has been struggling, some states have been getting creative. They haven't been waiting around for a fix. They've been experimenting with their own innovative ways to finance housing, and they've got some powerful lessons to teach the rest of us.
So let's look at two amazing examples, Virginia and Michigan. They've taken totally different routes to get to the same goal. Virginia built this incredible mission-driven nonprofit banking ecosystem. Michigan, on the other hand, just changed its state laws to let banks invest directly in their communities. Both of these show what can happen when you create a more direct line between capital and community needs. So to get what Virginia is doing, you first have to know what a CDFI is, a community development financial institution. Just think of it as a bank with a social mission. They are 100% focused on providing fair, affordable loans in communities that big, traditional banks often ignore. And this idea is the engine behind Virginia's success. At the very heart of Virginia's model is a CDFI called Locus. Now, Locus doesn't swing a hammer itself. Instead, it acts as a financial partner, a kind of quarterback for developers. They jump in with those crucial early loans for things like buying land and architectural designs. They offer bridge financing to fill weird funding gaps that pop up. And they manage investment pools to make private investors feel more comfortable. Basically, they make the difficult but essential projects actually happen. And the results are just huge. This isn't some small-time experiment we're talking about. Locus and its partners have generated over $4 billion in total economic impact. It's a fantastic illustration of what happens when you align capital with a community's vision.
And for anyone who wants to go deeper, you can check out their work for yourself right here. It really is a testament to an innovative approach that's getting real results.
Okay, now let's swing over to Michigan, which took a different but just as powerful tack. Instead of creating a new institution, they just changed the rules for the banks they already had. Their state banking code basically says, hey banks, you can invest a certain portion of your assets directly into community development projects. They put clear, sensible caps on it to make sure everything stays stable, but this simple change opened up a direct pipeline for bank capital to flow right into building local housing.
So when you take these incredible lessons from Virginia and Michigan, a new federal blueprint starts to take shape. It's a systemic reform that could unlock a massive amount of new resources for affordable housing all across the country.
So what's the big roadblock at the federal level? Well, a lot of it comes down to a law called the Bank Holding Company Act. Now, its purpose is actually a good one, to protect our savings by stopping banks from getting into risky side businesses like real estate development. But the question is, can we keep that same safety while still letting banks invest in much-needed housing?
And that gets us to the core of the proposal. It's not about throwing out the rulebook. It's about making smart, targeted changes to two key laws, the Bank Holding Company Act
and the Community Reinvestment Act. It's really about updating the rules for the challenges we face today. And here is the really clever part. The idea is to let banks create a new kind of company called a real estate investment subsidiary. Now, the key phrase here is separately capitalized. This means the money being used for housing development is totally walled off from the bank's normal customer deposits. All the risk is contained, so your savings account stays safe.
And the process itself becomes remarkably simple. Step 1. A bank creates and puts money into this new subsidiary. Step 2. That subsidiary provides 100% of the equity a developer needs. No more hunting for tax credit investors. Step 3. The developer builds. That's it. It's a clean, efficient line straight from capital to construction.
So what does this all add up to? What would this new future actually look like? Well, if we compare the old, clunky system with this new, streamlined model, honestly, the difference is like night and day.
I mean, just look at the contrast. Where the old LAITC model is incredibly complex, this direct model is simple. Where one is slow and expensive because of all the middlemen, the other is fast and way cheaper. But the most important part, instead of being limited by a small, finite pool of tax credits, this new model could tap into the much, much larger and more scalable pool of bank capital, all while keeping depositor money safe and sound.
And this isn't about weakening regulations. It's about making them work better. As the research points out, this kind of reform would actually strengthen the original goal of the Community Reinvestment Act. You know, the law that's supposed to make sure banks are serving the needs of their entire communities, especially lower-income neighborhoods. This puts that idea on steroids.
So the big takeaways here are pretty clear. With a change like this, we could dramatically speed up housing production, we could rely less on these inefficient tax programs, we could better fulfill the original mission of the CRA, and we could finally empower our financial institutions to be direct partners in solving the housing crisis.
Which really leaves us with one powerful final thought. We tend to look at the housing crisis as this impossible, complex beast. But what if one of the most powerful solutions isn't some brand new multi-billion-dollar program, but simply writing a smarter set of rules for the capital we already have? Based on what we've seen today, that's a question we really can't afford to ignore.